Someday.
We had a homecoming court. We didn't have a prom court really back then, and then that changed.
That at all. Okay. Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. And pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, audience introduction, seeing none. We will. See, do we have a motion, approval of agenda? Do we have any?
Can I have, one
Agenda.
addition on reports, a spotlight on education, if that's all right. It's all right.
Under reports?
It's on items for the item of
Steve.
information.
Oh, it's, sorry. Yeah, I didn't see it was a separate one. Sorry, Vanessa, when we did it. Never mind, it's
Comment
good.
on education. Okay,
Sometimes you put it underneath the facilities report, but we can just go ahead and do it down there. It's great. Perfect.
okay,
Thanks, Vanessa. Sorry.
You're welcome.
okay, so no changes. And can I get a motion?
Move to approve the agenda.
Okay, it's been moved, seconded. Any discussion? Okay, all of those in favor,
Aye.
opposition, motion passes. Delegation of visitors, seeing none. Moving to items of information for the board. And under reports, the first is the superintendent's report.
Sure. So October, a busy month at school with the end of the quarter quickly approaching. Regular season playoffs beginning in athletics, the FFA National Convention. They're leaving pretty quickly on that one. We have about 6 kids going, my understanding, or 7. And then Jonathan Probst is receiving his American degree as well. Important time for reviewing the early assessment data, which we did get just about a week ago. So next month in the November meeting, Chris and I plan on having a breakdown of that data for you folks, and we'll present that to you a little bit ahead of time so you can read it too if you have any questions. We continue to work on growth for all students, but at the same time, our initial returns show growth in 3 of 5 classes in grades 4 through 8. We can't really measure growth in grades below 4th because for our statewide assessments, because the first year they have them is 3rd grade. So looking at where they were 3rd grade compared to where they were 4th grade, that percentage that passed, that's what we look at. And then we'll also look at where that compares with the state. So, and then after 8th grade, it's hard to look at that growth model with the state assessments at least, because it goes from 8th grade, they don't test the 9th and 10th grade, but then they test again in 11th grade. So there's a little bit of gap there. So what we can measure with growth as far as statewide assessments, we'd like to make sure we show that and then how we did compared to the state average each year as well. So we'll be doing that at the next meeting. Remain focused on our goals, academic growth for all students. So I'll talk about that with their integrated guidance as well. And then last week, I received an email from Commissioner Morthorst about the Highway 99 and Bethel Road construction project slated to begin and end both the summer of 2026. It's going to have left-hand turn lanes, both directions on Highway 99, and then straighten out that intersection on Bethel Road. So when you're coming across, it'll be more of a straight direction. So very happy that they funded that, but that's not usually the one that's causes us more grief. It's usually the Perrydale Road in 22, which again, we don't have funding for that at this point. We're hoping that with the transportation bill that just passed, that maybe we will see some of that funding for that project again. But it's really frustrating. It feels like we are right back where we were in 2018, 2019, when we had a meeting here talking about the need for it. And then we've had a lot of meetings between the county and the state, including ODOT. We've had meetings at ODOT, at the county here. And it just feels like we're kind of right back where we started. They've done a feasibility study with some wetlands down at the end of Perrydale Road. But as far as moving forward, other than that, concept that they did just north of Linquist, having the road meet up there by what is that, Smithfield kind of, or they've shown that concept, but having it end up over by Maduri Farms and having that roundabout tied into that roundabout at 223 and Highway 22. But I just think we need to continue to try to put pressure on them. Kathy Tompkins is still a community member that's trying to lead that fight. So we will continue to work with her and Commissioner Mortworst, who is an advocate for this as well, to try to make sure that we have something going on. But since Commissioner Probst, who passed away 2 decades ago, even when he was a commissioner for the county, he was trying to push for an overpass. And then the overpasses were too expensive. They couldn't do that. So they were looking for other alternatives. But this has been more than 2 decades in the making. And, there's been a lot of accidents even this year. We've had a handful of accidents already.
Of students?
Luckily, no. In fact, I missed one by about the last kind of bigger one I was about a minute in front of that because I went to go look at something on Brown Road, came back and I luckily missed it, but it was right at the time that students had known. I thought for sure a parent or a student was in it, but luckily for us, it wasn't. But we had a parent last year who had a rollover, and a former Dallas kid was one who died. He was 19 at the time.
Oh.
But I mean, the parent of our students here, he rolled over in that and was fortunate he didn't sustain bigger injuries. So just seemed, well, that wasn't right there at that intersection. I'm just saying that in that whole little area, but especially 99 and 22 itself, or not 99, 22 and Perrydale Road itself. It's been pretty bad.
You guys
So-
thought about doing any trainings or anything, with the students on how to be more careful there? Because I drive that intersection multiple times, and I would almost guarantee the main problem with what people do wrong there. I'm always in the turn lane, and cars zoom across in front of me when I have the right of way.
Yeah.
And it happens every week.
Now what they plan on,
Every week that scenario happens
Oh, yeah.
to me there.
it's horrible.
Yeah.
And we've had some training with kids. We've had some presentation
Yeah,
with the county's supposed to come do another
Oh.
presentation, but we don't have our SRO right now. So I don't know if they will assign us a deputy. In the past, 6 months, they said that they would look at doing that for us. We had something in play, which was a really big production right before COVID. It was supposed to happen in April, I think it was. But then that all got canceled, obviously, during that time. But, and then we kind of lost our SRO after that. We sporadically had coverage, and then we haven't had an SRO for years.
We have a little bit of promise when they'll stop by and introduce themselves, but then we never see them again, really.
And then last thing here, homecoming events are ongoing for the week of October 13th or 18th right now. Hope you're able to attend the volleyball matches on Wednesday, October 15th, including senior night for the girls in their last match. And then the home football game on Friday, October 17th. We have 3 home football games in a row to finish out the season, which feels really nice after traveling, doesn't it? Yeah. So we're happy about that. We do not have a senior night this year for football because they have no seniors on their team this year. So which is very crazy, right? After 9 of them 2 years ago or whatever it was. So definitely a unique year with that, but that just means we're all coming back next year, which is great. So that's it for now. I'll let you, I didn't steal your thunder this year.
Yeah,
I tried to make sure. Yeah.
Elementary, middle school.
Yeah, the K through 3 students went on a pumpkin patch field trip, and yes, it rained on them again. We tried to plan it a little bit earlier this year, and it didn't work out. But they had a great time. It's a great trip, and it's still just a fun thing to be able to do. Mrs. Paya has returned to teaching some art lessons to our elementary students. So she's been able to make a route through the classrooms that fits in with her schedule. And the kids are really enjoying that. It's probably just once every 6 weeks or so. Maybe it'll be more than that during certain seasons, but for right now, it's about once every 6 weeks, and the kids love that. Friday was our in-service day, and as Dan was talking about data, it's just really a time to reflect on what we have concrete from last year. And one of the things that we do as a district, of course, is to look at our kiddos' scores from year to year and follow them. But something that we do within the staff is a staff member will choose the last 3 years in a specific subject to look at their data. So say, for example, a 4th grade class, it would be the last 3 4th grade classes versus the same class that we're following, because that will help a staff member find their areas of strength and weakness. So that's something that we spent a lot of time on Friday. Our 4th and 5th grade band group went on a trip last Thursday. They've had some great times. Just the beginning of their band year, but it's off to a great start.
They had 31 students, I believe she said, doing band now at this time.
Yeah.
Between 4th through 8th grade.
It's posing some great challenges and things that are fun, but when you have half of your 4th grade and half of your 5th grade gone for an event, that can pose challenges, but it's great that there's that much interest. So
She sent us a picture with their red shirts. They all had
Yeah,
matching
some
red shirts,
t-shirts.
and to see them, that many kids, it was pretty remarkable.
yeah.
No, we haven't had as much choir the last few years. We've had a few students that want to do choir after they had taken 2nd in state. They just didn't have the number of kids that wanted to participate. But with the number of kids participating in band, that may be something that that grows as they get in high school, much like our cheer group. We're thinking the same thing will happen with that.
Yeah. We've had some character themes this year. For example, September was respect and responsibility, and this month is empathy and understanding. So we're trying to recognize students in the moment when they're displaying sort of that type of characteristic, and looking for those moments when they don't realize we're watching for them, so that it's an authentic choice and behavior, whether it's in the classroom, whether it's in the hallway, out at recess, and different options. They are earning certain bracelets depending on the color for the month. This month is green. This month is orange. Last month was green. And that seems to be pretty motivating for kids and kind of keeps some important vocabulary words familiar for them, so they're understanding what empathy is and knowing and understanding and stopping to think about how somebody else feels about a situation. Or when I say this, I've hurt their feelings. It's not that I don't want to get in trouble. It's I don't want to hurt their feelings. And so really having some of those conversations with students has been very helpful. And then we've got our Harvest Carnival coming up in just a couple of weeks on the 30th. I think that's everything from me.
Great, thank you.
And
So-
Aaron.
This is the time we all kind of chuckle because Aaron's is 2 sentences long usually.
I get to be 3. No, 3. We're currently serving 34 students on IEPs. Our move-in meetings are complete and finalized. We have received staff training from both our behavior specialist and the autism consultant. Our focus this year is on independence and prompting. I meant to put like minimizing prompting before the word prompting. So it's like when I say we're doing a bullying training. Forget that anxiety.
We teach them if we teach them how to do it, they'll know what to look for.
Yeah, yeah. So.
That's great.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thanks, Erin. Okay, on to new hires and resignations.
Excuse me, sorry.
Oh, facilities.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I didn't know if you
Why did
wanted anything or if you were missing
Sorry.
that on purpose.
No.
So the facilities, what I'd say is Troy is looking at the roofing. He got some bids done. We have one section on the elementary that needs to be done eventually. It's not in very poor condition at this time, but we have 2 other areas that are a little bit more in need. It doesn't need to be at this time, but maybe looking at this summer at least, and that is the field house. That roof is about 20 years old, and it's just regular 3-tab roofing, so it's met its time, and we have a lot of moss on there, etc. So he would like to do that, and then also need to look at the play shed and what direction we want to go. In the past, we had some concerns from some on the board that there was a lot of mold in there, but we have not found any mold really in there. It's better with the leaking. We opened it up to try to allow some ventilation because that was a thing that we had discussed as maybe a possibility because there was concern about the ventilation. The problem with that is that it doesn't have an overhang with the gutters, and so that water just kind of pours in during that, if we're getting any winds from the east with the rain. So we have a little bit of an issue there, but the gutters are just getting old and it's an older building. It still has pretty good structure. I would say that, we use it not a ton for the actual recess. We'll use it more this year because the previous couple of years we had the big gym available during all lunch for elementary. So they could go in there. Plus we had the all-weather surfacing out there on the playground now. But this year, 5th grade PE is during the little kids' lunchtime
recess portion.
at the beginning of the lunch recess. And so as a result, that has made it so they would have to utilize a play shed, a couple of classes out there during that time, or the all-weather surfacing if it's not raining too hard out there. So looking at that, we're going to have to look at the feasibility long-term. The idea was that we would put a gym there eventually, but that's $2 to $3 million to do that because this smaller gym, before we rehabbed it, was in pretty bad shape. When we rehabbed it, we call it the smaller gym here because it's not the old gym anymore. It's the new gym, but it just sounds weird to say that. So a lot of people still call it the old gym, but that one's in better shape, but it's still used a lot for lunch and for music recitals, et cetera. So we had talked about the need for another gym, and I just don't think that's going to materialize anytime in the next few years. So we probably need to look at putting some money towards that play shed because it will still continue to get used by our students and our teams. We just have to find that sweet spot and figure out exactly what the assessment would be on, do an assessment on the roofing, some gutters, where are we with those items? And then what other aspects do we need to do to make sure it's a good functioning space?
Something to add, is we used to have 5 classes out there at one time, so it was dreadful. We've been able to create the schedule the last 5 or 6 years to not have that be the case. So when you really have only 2 classrooms out using that space, it's really not a bad space. It could use a paint job and some things like that inside, but it's pretty clean. Kids really aren't complaining about it. They're not having to use it very often, but they're not complaining about it like they used to. And I was trying to figure out what some of that difference was, but a lot of it has just been our scheduling shift. We've been able to, we don't have all of our elementary having lunch at the same time, so therefore they're not all having recess at the same time. So.
Definitely been a shift over the years.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the all-weather surfacing on the regular playground makes a big difference too, because if it's not raining pretty hard at the time, the kids still like to go outside. It makes sense. That was the main part of it. Let me see some other things. Replace some. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just wondering about the heating, cooling schedule.
So yeah, so the heating and cooling units were actually over here.
Hmm.
The ones that he was
Yeah.
working on. So it's for that building.
I was wondering about the
The new stuff.
Yeah.
The new Pacific Impact stuff that they had.
Oh, gotcha,
Yeah.
gotcha.
like if it was working
Well, we'll find out over the next couple months because we, just got it working there at the end of the summer and getting into the school year. We found that staff still had an affinity towards stuff that's a little cooler than probably what they were anticipating, but impact.
Okay.
But I think we found kind of a sweet spot finally after
With-
working with them.
Yeah, with temperature and time, I think.
The timing was the biggest thing. So for example, volleyball. Well, they didn't think, oh yeah, that gym needs to just stay on till like 8:30 every night.
Mm-hmm.
And so it would go off at like 4:15. Like it was part of the rest of the school. And it's like, no, that's the worst time in August for it to go off. And so just working through some of those things, I think we were working with some people that probably don't have that sports background, but after we called them and took care of it, then it was night and day different. And I wasn't getting yelled at by everybody in the stands. So
They have access now to our PGE and Northwest Natural, like they can go online and see otherwise I was gonna have to send them every month. So I got them a login so they can go on and see, and that was just towards the end of last week. So I'm guessing by next month, we'll at least start seeing what the comparison looks like.
Okay.
And I will say Micah's been very responsive, been very happy with his customer service. I appreciate that, but, we'll continue to see how that goes, but I think we have a good rapport with them and hopefully that'll continue. Yeah. Next,
Okay, next, new hires and resignations.
you want to talk about Victoria?
Did she resign?
Yeah.
Victoria White resigned.
There you go, thanks. You want to-
She's been with us for 2 to 3 years, and we love her in her 17th year. But she got another job, and
And then we have 2 basketball coaches for middle school girls, Lindsay and Jeremy Gunther. Both of their daughters are in high school now. Thank them both. Jeremy also is our head softball coach for the high school, does a great job. And they definitely are a sports-minded family and appreciate the time that they both committed to the basketball. My daughter played for them last year as well, and I thought that they did a great job working the girls, trying to teach them the skills, but also managing, all those bodies in sometimes is pretty tough. As you remember. So yeah, thank you to all 3 of those folks.
All right. The certified negotiation letter.
Yeah, so APT wanted to let us know that they do plan to open negotiations, and their contract expires June 30th, 2026. So it's pretty typical. They had a 3-year contract the last time. We would need 2 board members typically to help us work with them during negotiations. It's usually myself, Cindy also will help out with any financial part of it.
Mhm.
And then Vanessa has taken notes. We had her start taking notes last year during the classified, and that helped out a lot. So we would look for that. Other contracts that are coming up is Troy Llewellyn, who had sent me an email actually today. And so I told him, I mentioned that, and also Vanessa's contract will be up this year as well. So
And
those
Jerry.
are, what's that?
And Jerry.
Yeah, Jerry. But we need to look at those contracts. So we may have, depending on what the board wants to do, we can make these final decisions in November.
Okay.
But I think it'd be good to have Katie here for that also.
Yeah.
But I think you folks could have a separate person for Vanessa and for Troy. I want to say Jerry or Terry, but and then also for Jerry, or we could just have one person do all those. But we would need probably 2 people to do the the certified staff.
All right. Spotlight on education.
Yeah, so last week we had Adulting 101 for our seniors here. Maggie helped put it together with the county. The county needed a guinea pig, and we volunteer usually for that. When it comes to our people that we work with, service integration. Dana, who is the person, Goodale, who works with us with our counseling position hires, she was the one that was helping run this. And I'd like to thank Oregon State Credit Union there in Dallas for helping be a big partner with that. And they even had the opportunity to go around with other people in the county that were doing areas like transportation, housing, for career and college readiness costs, utilities, etc. They had a big station, rotation thing they were doing it here. Polk County Sheriff's Office, or no, it was actually Monmouth Police Department was here going over what to do if you get pulled over and make sure you have your insurance and no sudden movements, all those things. But we're just talking about what you can expect during a stop. And then we also had a gentleman that was from a construction company that was teaching kids some of the basics about changing your oil, changing your flat, etc. So we had some good times. The kids had positive remarks about the situation. I even asked three gentlemen who I thought may be a little bit more critical of some of the oil change and et cetera. And they said, no, he did a really good job. We thought he did really well. So I was happy to hear that. So anyway, good job for Margaret and the county and Oregon Community Credit Union, all those volunteers for coming and helping out. And they also gave the kids catered Mexican lunch as well. And some of us were able to feast on that a little bit once they had leftovers. So kudos. Anything any of you want to add about that? I know Vanessa, you got a chance to come in here and
No, it was really cool.
Yeah.
I went out while they were doing the oil change thing, and I mean, as a 35-year-old woman, it was helpful. So,
yeah, it's good.
Learning some life skills.
yeah.
It's never too late. I think so.
All right, Division 22 standards.
Yeah, so each of you got a packet, so a few of them. But the Division 22, each year we have to make sure that we talk about being in compliance. We did have some items I wanted to bring to your attention. We're in compliance with all of them. But the item that I wanted to talk about, diploma requirements, or there's a few. We brought on board the career and college readiness courses and the financial literacy course prior to when it was due, which is a year from now. We had it really in place last year. The financial literacy is through our classes with Mrs. Richards, and we've been doing that since all of you were in school as personal finance before, but we just changed it up a little bit in order to make sure we met those standards. And then the other one, the career and college readiness, is through their advisory class. So they get 0.5 credit during that, and things like we had the other day with the seniors. That's a great example of some of those things that Maggie's able to do. And she always has people coming in and working with our kids, or we go do visitations. And so we just mark down who's doing those. And then we have other aspects during advisory that they go over in order to meet those requirements. So that's one. The other one is PE minutes, because of the additional FTE that we hired with that changeover from Mr. G to our two PE teachers that we have now. We are fully, I'd say we're one of the few schools that really are fully meeting those requirements for PE. Not that I'm trying to throw other schools under the bus, but that is a hard requirement to meet for some schools. And I think that we're doing a great job. We're also able to help some of our students who have more mobility issues or other issues, that they're able to have some additional PE time in the afternoon, which has gone really well, I think. And a dedicated teacher with Mr. Connor teaching that class. We have the kids doing some officiating classes, so that way they can learn to do the officials. Our middle school has both of those PE teachers working with them, and then our high school still has Mr. Ferguson, who helps teach the health aspect of it with science, and then Mr. Connor. And then our elementary has about 35 minutes, I think it is, with each of those. You really only need to average 30 minutes, so we're giving them additional 20 minutes a week with that. And again, we're doing a great job with it. So one areas, the one area that we weren't in compliance last year was about counseling. This isn't for last year. This was actually for the 23-24 school year. Last year for 24-25, we're in compliance. And part of that's because we went back with the county. What we found is that when we had a staff member that was on leave, we didn't really have the coverage that we needed. And so we came to the board last year and said, hey, we're struggling to find coverage for this position. And that's an important position. So we decided to go back with our relationship with the county. And so if somebody has that need, then for extended leave, then we have that in place with the county. So that's a good thing for us. So we were compliant with that. So that was the last one that I wanted to make sure I went over. And if you have any other questions later on, after you have a chance to put those over, if you want to, feel free to connect with me. We'll do these every year around this time. They have to be done by November 15th. So November 15th is the Monday this next month, and I don't want to wait till the end. So we want to make sure we have that. I should say November 1st for some, November 15th for the final part. So you'll see November 1st on the top there. The real final part's due on the 15th. So any questions so far on that? Okay.
And these are the reporting requirements.
Yeah, these are the reporting requirements next. So the next one is our integrated guidance, and you'll see this page, and sorry to flip over, it just printed that way. But every year in either October or September, we'll present the annual reporting requirements for integrated guidance. Again, that controls most of it with our SIA, which is our student investment account. That is what we use to pay for some supplies for things like our ag science classes, our food science and culinary, but also the bigger idea is we pay for the following positions. We pay for one of our CTE teachers, we pay for our math specialists, and we pay for 2 instructional assistants at the elementary level, or really K through 8 when it comes to doing some math stuff. But those, without this funding that we get for the SIA, we wouldn't be able to fund those positions. And it's a non-competitive grant that we get each year, and it's based on your ADM, your weighted ADM. So it's nice to be able to have those additional funds. It was paid for that CAT tax, the corporate activity tax that a lot of people are frustrated with, and I understand that. This is what it helps pay for. So for us at our school, we utilize those funds again for a math specialist, additional career technical education, and 2 instructional assistants to help lower class size, specifically for math and reading, which we need to continue to work on. And so those are good strategies we feel to have humans in that place instead of spending just on supplies. But in the past, it helped us remodel the shop. When we first got the SIA, before we hired those additional people, we were able to use that partial funding that we got at that point to help remodel the shop. And then with that, it just talks here about annual report, just talks about looking at our outcomes and strategies. And sorry, I have to read this. I don't have to read it word for word, but I do have to read it. With regards to our longitudinal growth, we have maintained successful areas such as the 4-year graduation rate at greater than 95%. The 5-year completion is greater than 95%, which means if a student didn't finish the 4-year, but we still make sure they finish up. Obviously, if we have a graduation rate at over 95, we're going to probably have a 5-year completion over 95. Our 9th grade on track, which means they're not having more than like 1 F for the semester, and it can't be in certain classes. We have less than, or we have greater than 95% for the 9th grade on track. And we've seen growth in 3rd grade ELA proficiency. That was plus 8.4% according to the state. And then regular attenders, that attendance part, we did increase last year at 9.1%. So at the high school level, the funds used from the high school success, which is Margaret's spot. And then the SI have been a huge help with having a full-time student success coordinator who works with our students in college and career readiness, plus dropout prevention, 9GOT. Having a person employed in that capacity has been a huge win for our students and helping them maintain the successful rates with graduation completers. And then I got one area to continue to work on, as we talked about, was the attendance rates, specifically our juniors and seniors. So, and then our annual report, the second narrative there, one of the most striking number when I look at the data, again, was that attendance. And I hit on that quite a bit because that was an area of concern for the last couple of years until this last year. Our 11th and 12th graders sit at only about 60%. When looking back at other years, the number of regular attenders was high just a few years ago with both the 21-22 and 22-23. The difference between these 2 grades, 9th and 10th grade students, is significant. For 24-25, there was a 22.5% difference. So we're very excited about that. But we're now exploring meaningful ways to reduce the absenteeism. And I should say it was a reduction, so we're not happy about it. We were happy before, and we just need to get it back up there. It was better than it was 2 years ago, but we still are striving for a higher number. So, the state average, though, is 67%. Our goal from the state, we had to create some goals with the state a couple of years ago. They wanted us to be at 71%, and we were at 77.3%. So not bad. We're 10% over the state average, but again, we still have higher expectations than that. And our last part here, our narrative 3, our growth measures have been favorable the past 2 years. We're making progress in the areas needed, albeit we wish the gains were more significant each year. We're still meeting our targets co-written with the Department of Education. And we implemented math-specific strategies for K through 8 over the past few years, including the hiring of that math specialist I mentioned earlier. But we need more time to see the continued growth. We'll continue on the path forward, reassessing throughout the next 2 years in case a shift in strategy may be needed. Also, our student success coordinator will be focusing more on junior and senior attendance strategies during this school year and next school year, in addition to our other duties. Again, we need to do this each year. The integrated guidance also covers our early literacy. It covers our high school success. It covers things like Everyday Matter for attendance as well. Any questions on those? Sorry, it's a little boring, I know, but things that we have to do for the month. All right.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're to the consent agenda. So board minutes from September 2025 meeting.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, it is seconded, and any discussion, any opposition? Okay, motion passes. Oh, school profile, I guess it was also the school profile.
Yeah.
Okay, items for board action. A is the audit.
So
We
you
have
have,
in a separate hand.
yeah, it's a separate handout, and I also, it was emailed in the original packet. This is the 23-24 audit, which has been sent in, approved, and the state school fund has been funded. And I have them coming for current field work, either the 31st or the 7th. They haven't got back to me on which day yet. So for the 24-25 one, we're on track for that to be completed by the end of December. So this one, the separate packet there, the top sheet is just what needs to be signed. So there were 2 findings. One of them is, what was the word? I just lost it. Repeat finding, and it's one that we'll probably get every year. And it's basically that our district is small and we can't perform the duties of, like, all of the duties that the audit has to do. So we have to go out and have that done by someone else. So the auditing firm is doing that for us. So there's really nothing, there's no plan of action that can be done for that. We just continue to, unless we're going to hire an accountant to do that for us, then we're going to continue to have them do it for us. The second one is basically stating that I did the rollover in July in the finance system. And so for the final things that needed done with the audit, there were some journal entries that we couldn't do because it had already been rolled over. And so the plan of action is to just make sure that all reconciliations and journal entries are done prior to rolling over, which won't be a problem with that being done. We don't roll over until July, so the audit will be done before that. And a couple of the things that we have also implemented is that I'm utilizing Vanessa to help process journal entries throughout the month. And also the transferring from InTouch, which is our receipting system, into eFinance, those transactions. There's a download and upload process. So she's going to, she started learning how to do that as well. So those are 2 kind of mundane things that you do once a month that had just been on the back burner with everything else day to day going on that she was able to pick up. And we've got a good little system going and stuff for that. So
We also created a space, or they did, I think,
Yeah.
but created a space in Cindy's office where Vanessa spends a good portion of her day now, just working the 2, because what will happen a lot is that people get sidetracked when you're in the office, and we understand that because a kid comes in and needs a Band-Aid or whatever may be the case. Staff need help. I need help. So this allows us to have Vanessa in there as a dedicated time. Hey, you need help? Yeah, exactly. So anyway, I appreciate the fact that we're making some changes and I think that system's worked out pretty well so far, it sounds like. So thank you for the extra work, Vanessa, too. Appreciate it. So,
Okay.
So this was for the funding that we have to take the loan out.
correct. And we have the funding.
Have we paid back the loan?
Wednesday. So it's in, banks were closed today. So it's in our LGIP and it's been transferred. Not the whole thing, but a chunk of it's been transferred into our regular bank account, but the transfer takes 24 hours. But since today the bank is closed, it doesn't process until tomorrow. So the money will be there Wednesday. So yes, I've emailed the finance person at the bank to see what the best route, if that's just like an internal transfer with our bank account, or if we have to actually do a physical check or what that looks like. So,
Well,
but,
they did.
but that should be done on Wednesday.
When they
Yeah.
gave us the funding for the loan, it was just a transfer with an account. So we're anticipating that may work, but if it doesn't, then we'll cut a check because they're going to be gone next week for their conference. So we wanted to make sure we got that taken care of. We received the loan around the 17th last month, so we wanted to make sure we had it paid by the 17th. So
I also like their recommendation for the board reporting. I liked what they were recommending.
so much you have it highlighted.
I do.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else on that? Anything else? Questions? So we need to,
I think you just need to approve the
Yeah, you
audit
have to
and then you'll
approve it, yeah.
sign the top one. And then I send that in.
okay. So do I have a motion?
I move to approve the audit
23, 24,
23,
24.
24.
I second.
Got it in there.
Okay, moved and seconded, any, discussion, opposition? Motion passes. All right, cell phone policy.
Yeah, so this is different than the rule that you'll see in the student handbook that you folks had approved. This is, again, the policy to cover us both from what the governor required in her executive order, and then also just to have this in place. We may have to revisit this if the executive order changes down the road, but this allows us to be in compliance with what she required in the executive order, as you see right there. This is the OSBA sample model, auto sample policy. We adjusted it for what needed for our district, but it also includes, you'll see on the back, the last part, which is an AR, administrative rule. So the AR goes with it for the request for personal electronic devices exception. So basically, if a student's on an IEP or 504 and their doctor says, yes, you would need it for this reason, then we would look at that and see if there's an exception to that rule. If there's not, and they just say, well, we want it because, my kid has to call home or I need to be able to get a hold of my kid, then that would be a no. But you look at it on a case-by-case basis. We left in some of the language that's in the brackets, which is, like it says, principal on that back page, or not the very back page, but second to last page. That was one. And then on the very back page, in the bracket, it says clearly documented. So it says exemption should only be approved for clearly documented needs of students and their families, not mere convenience. So we left in that bracketed language as well. So we would clean up those brackets before it's finalized, but we have until October 31st to have a policy in place that covers this part as per the executive order. And again, the rule itself, though, is still the one that's in the handbook that you folks looked at back in August that you approved. And what we had talked about at that time is that we would reassess after the first quarter to see where we are, and then we would come back to you if there's any changes, or if you just want to report on, what we've heard and concerns that may have been brought forward, et cetera.
And it's still going well.
There's a lot of kids that are testing it right now. So as far as having
We're
to
seeing
move
some
on a
waves
person,
for sure that
but overall.
I think that when they have their first incident, that's a reminder that it's not allowed and that there are consequences. We're not seeing a lot with a second incident yet, so.
It's early on.
It's a little early, but I'm hopeful.
I think it's been better at the middle school level, not saying that some of the middle school students haven't, because they had this last year.
Mhm.
And then this year's freshmen, same thing, they had it last year. But I would say the older students would probably be the students that have struggled a little bit more with it.
Yeah, they want to keep it on their person instead of having it turned off in a backpack or a locker. There's been some interesting conversations, but at the same time, it's been such a part of their life for 5 or so years that it is hard to let it go. So we understand that too. The kids are reporting mostly though that they're really actually appreciating it. They don't really want to say that, but I think that they're seeing that it is more enjoyable at lunchtime. It is more enjoyable in passing periods. And we're seeing them be more active during lunchtime instead of sitting at tables on their phones. So I think that's really positive.
Or at least interacting when they're sitting at those tables too.
Yeah.
Not just like
We see
sorry, go ahead.
We see a lot more kids utilizing the large gym this year, where we had really seen a decline last year. It was almost like it was just a middle school space last year. And where in previous years it had been high school, middle school, the high schoolers kind of kept the middle schoolers in check and kept games fair and reasonable. And this year we're kind of seeing that's kind of returning. So it's kind of nice to see all the kids interacting at different ages. That's what we're going to add in.
No, I think that being able to have that interaction last year, you would see kids that would literally be sitting next to each other and they're all just gaming on their phone and not having that interaction. I'm not saying people shouldn't game if they want to, but outside the school time, I think it's good. Maybe when you're not having that interaction, face to face, that may be a more appropriate time. So I think that part's been good. Have more of those conversations. So. Did you guys run your phone?
What's that?
She left her phone at home, and Eva left his home today.
Yeah, so nice.
Yes, that is cool.
I also expected that as soon as the 3:15 bell rang, everybody would be back on their phones, and they're just not.
Hasn't been as much yet.
Yeah. I thought it was gonna be a night and day sort of difference where they were gonna find their spots and you'd find them all checking their messages and things like that, and they're just not, so. I'm sure they do at some point,
Yeah.
but it's nice that it's not the first thing that they have to do.
Yeah.
What's
you do
that?
too.
That's when I see the TikTok videos you uploaded.
Yeah, yeah.
I overload the system at some
Yeah.
point in the evening.
I actually feel like most of the time lately that I have caught kids on their phone is because their parents ratted them out.
Right.
Unintentionally,
Right.
but they're like, so-and-so texted me. Like,
And that frustrates families too a little bit.
Yeah.
Because they're like, wait a second,
It's
I have
hard.
my kid because I said my kid needs, Tylenol or whatever it is. Or not Tylenol.
Right.
But not going to that argument, everybody.
Got it.
Yeah. So, but it's
However, it's really just kind of cluing us in on who we need to probably pay more attention to, whose bathroom trips are 20 minutes versus 2 or 3 minutes, so.
but anyway, the question was, how's it going?
Yeah.
Overall.
There's been some humor too. When they get caught, they're like, oh man, no. They know. They know the rule, they're testing the boundary. And I think that when they get caught sooner than later, it helps them see that the boundary is clear.
So what we would look at is we need a policy in place here, bless you.
Thank you.
This one again doesn't set up the rule, it just makes sure again that we're in compliance with what was in the executive order. And again, if we need to reassess this later on because there is any type of change to the executive order, then we can do so at that time, and we just would replace this one with whatever the newest one is.
So are we seeking a
Motion,
for
yeah.
for this specific?
For this policy, yes. So then we
specific
just
policy?
would
Okay.
change into Pareto. So it would be for the policy JFCEB and JFCEB-AR.
Yeah, we have actual copies of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I have them for you. I'll get it to you.
Thank you.
I move to approve. Do you want me to say anything else?
Policy
Oh, policy
JFCEB
JFCEB
and
and JFCEB-AR.
A second. Seconded. Any discussion? Any opposition? The motion passes.
Thank you. Then Vanessa, when you get back, we just have to look at putting it online by the 31st. We have to make sure families have it.
Yeah, I can do it this week.
And I did have one other thing I needed to do about the integrated guidance. Even though I didn't state it, I need to make sure I do. So I can revisit that once we're done here.
Yeah.
I just need to make sure I allow for public input if there is anybody here or online about the integrated guidance annual report. I don't think we have anybody, so that's why I didn't say it, but I need to make sure I said that for the record.
Okay.
You know the wording on.
Yeah.
All right. Patron input, seeing none. Board comments. Any board comments? Seeing none. Announcements, dates of importance.
Yeah, so we have quite a bit of stuff, like we said, going on with homecoming this week. Have our dance coming on in the barn this Saturday as well. That's becoming really, I mean, that's where they plan on having the dance every year is the barn. They clean it up, put the lights out there, have music. Our neighbors are pretty good about it. We've offered them to go out for dinner and pay for it, but they say no as long as we're not there too late. So this year, the homecoming dance, I think is 7 to 9 on Saturday, which isn't too late, and our neighbors are happy about that. But you know, it's been a very cool thing that we didn't think of originally when we built the barn, that we would end up having dances out there. But
Isn't that cool?
now we have heaters for it too.
Oh.
So we have rented and then now bought some space heaters out there. So it's been pretty cool overall.
It's funny they call it a dance. It's more of like an activity because they have ping pong and
The
cornhole
kids are doing
boards
less
and
and less
Yeah.
dancing, right?
they have music playing while they just do all kinds of other activities. Yes.
It really is.
They should really just change the name.
Yeah, so we had the vision screening coming up on the 16th. We have National FFA the National FFA Convention. Elementary Pumpkin Days coming up, and that's really exciting to see our ag classes connected with the little kids. And then the high school field trip to the Hatfield Marine Science Center. Mr. Ferguson's pretty excited about his field trips. And he has one planned he's planning one for Eastern or Southern Oregon this year. And then the next year he's looking at doing possibly something, maybe even in Costa Rica, something like that. So through EF, who I used to work with quite a bit. Harvest Carnival coming up on the 30th. Good times. I don't think anybody's listening right now, but we definitely need more candy. Definitely a little bit behind in the candy aspect.
You could Instacart candy.
Yeah, I remember that.
Instagram candy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cindy just pointed that
Guys,
out.
they
to
see
me.
a huge candy purchase
That's
when
the
it gets
trending.
I should make a
One of the things that I like that we do, again, kudos to over here, but and our kids that help out in high school class, but doing the door-to-door trick-or-treating where they dress up and stuff, it's pretty cool. And so again, we'll be doing that, I believe, earlier on the 30th, correct?
Well, preschool is in the morning time, and we
Yeah.
haven't decided if elementary is going to be
Okay,
at the same time or
morning.
in the afternoon.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we can just bring candy to the office?
Yes,
Yes, we
Okay.
love candy.
especially
Okay.
Reese's.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything but Hershey's.
And then, yeah,
They don't
Regular
like plain
Hershey's? That's a no-go. At least almonds in it, so. Veterans Day coming up on the 11th, which means we have school on that Friday the 14th. Turkey trot, or should say turkey trot, I think that's very cool. We should start calling Troy turkey.
I just said
we
we
should
should
put
put
a
a
banner
banner up.
Is
That
that
was
your
my
turkey,
bad.
Troy? And then we had the board meeting. We'll also have our family feast that comes up that I believe it's going to be that Wednesday or Thursday before Thanksgiving break as well. That's become a really great tradition. And it's always amazing when you come out of there with like 60 pumpkin pies, especially if you're a big guy and everybody's looking like, what are you doing with 60 pies, dude? But it's pretty cool. Which is also, wait, can we Instacart 60 pumpkin pies?
Yes.
You totally
From Costco?
can.
You certainly
Oh,
can.
what's the
They might
cost
have
on
limits,
that,
we
though?
might
Cheap.
each have to do it. They might have a limit, so we might each
Yeah.
have to.
I know you can get 5. That's as many as I know.
Right.
And I freeze them and they're great. I mean, like I get them out like year round because I love the pumpkin pies.
Yeah, they're like
Are really
high
good.
quality for $6 or whatever.
Great idea.
Cheaper than blue ribbon pies.
So,
Blue ribbon doesn't have pumpkin.
They freeze really good.
all right, board meetings on the 17th. On that Monday. All right,
Great. We're adjourned.
all right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you all.
Question, is the volleyball game Wednesday or Thursday?
Wednesday,
Wednesday for volleyball this week. It's just randomly on a
like
Wednesday.
a double header at 4 and